What is going on, guys? It is Daniel Wright, and you are here listening to another episode of Paving the Way. Happy Wednesday morning to you. I hope it is starting off great, and I hope you've got great plans for this hump day. Guys, today I've got one for you. Obviously, the title of today's show is Kids, Mission, and Legacy. This one is going to hit on more of a little bit of a personal side of my life. But I felt kind of, called to share it with you guys, to give you a little bit more kind of, background and insight on kind of where I come from, where I'm going and things like that. So to kind of, summarize how I got to this point, one, I've been honestly really trying to think about the topics to talk about on here. A lot of this stuff, like I tell you, I talk about it as it comes up in my life, as things occur, as I grow, as I learn, as I screw things up, whatever it may be. I try to keep things in real time, right? And as I do that, obviously some of the shows are a little bit more passionate than others. Some of them sound a little bit more, bullet pointed out. Some of them are a little more raw and off the cuff. But nonetheless, I can promise you guys, everything I talk about on here comes from the heart. It comes from a place of having a desire to serve, to teach, to help pave the way, right? For you guys, for anyone else who might listen to this. And this one came to me recently. I was listening to a podcast, one of Andy Frisella's podcasts, one of his Q&A shows. And I think somebody was asking a question basically about, like the effort and the energy that you put into a company and things like that, and how to balance it, and like work-life balance got brought up, and family, and so on and so forth, all these things, right? But nonetheless, he brought up something that he's mentioned a few times here and there on a few different shows and things I've heard him listen or heard him speak on. And, him and his wife, they're in I think they're in their 40s or so right now. But nonetheless, he's talked about, that him and his wife, they can't have kids. He's never gone into, details about it, which that's, obviously his right to talk about it, whatever. But it's an interesting point because he talks about, he says, if I had kids, like if he had kids, that he would probably be living a lot different life. Like his priorities would be different, right? He is, if anybody who's listening to this knows him, he is super passionate, super like intense and high energy towards his business, towards personal development, everything like that. And that's his passion, right? Like that's what he puts everything he's got into. And he was talking about that, if he had kids, then obviously his passions and his priorities would change because those would be your passion and priority, right? Not saying you can't still be passionate about a business or personal development or your fitness with, just because you have kids, but nonetheless, those things would be different. And then, it got brought up, or I got to thinking about a legacy standpoint. And I've heard Alex Hormozy, he has said that he believes that, aiming to leave a legacy is basically trying to out-cheat death, right? Like you're trying to live on even though you've died, which we all know, like you can't do that. So yes, legacy is a real thing. Like there are legacies that have been built and left and, remembered for generations and generations to come, which is fantastic. It's something that I believe that whenever a person does die, whenever their time is up on this earth, that they'll be able to lay on their deathbed. And, if it's true that you have a highlight reel of your life before you die, they'll be able to know that at the end of that highlight reel that they left a legacy, that they made a difference that will carry on past them. Right. So that leads me kind of to the point of, the middle section of this is the mission, right? So in my life, I would probably say that at this point in Kelsey and I's life, my wife and I, that we would classify and relate and identify with Andy Frisella and his wife, and that we have been told by medical professionals that we have we've been diagnosed with unexplained infertility. And what is that, you might ask? It's a great question. It's unexplained. So we don't really have an answer. So the super long backstory that's just condensed down into a little bit, Kelsey and I, it's been probably at least 5 years now that, we have opened the opportunity to having kids in our life, and we don't have any. Obviously, you guys know we have 4 dogs and those keep us plenty busy. And so at this point, like I said, several years ago, we went to the doctors, we talked with them, we're like, hey, what's going on? Right. Because there's a lot of things going on in the world these days with reproduction and fertility and things like that. And basically, with unexplained infertility, if you don't know what that is, that basically means where they test the male, they test the female, make sure everything's good in your reproductive system. And when all that comes back good, but you're not having kids, it's unexplained infertility. And so then they tell you, oh, there's these paths you can go down if you want to try, pushing to have kids. And, it starts with, oral medications, then injections, and then this, and then that, and it goes down this whole path. Well, that's something that obviously Kelsey and I had more of our own, like one-on-one personal conversation about, of how far are we willing to go with science to try and bring humans into our life. And long story short, we've already hit our limit on that. Like, we hit our boundary that we set as a couple that says, all right, we're not going to go any further than this. We kind of look at it, from a faith standpoint, that if God had it in our cards to have kids by now, we would have had them. So therefore, we don't have kids yet. That doesn't mean that it may not happen one day. I don't know what the future is going to hold in store, right? There's lots of ways that people can have children that, come into their life. So right now, this is the card we're playing. Since we don't have kids, right? I'm 32, Kelsey's 30, not a day past 22 if you ask her though. So, but I'm 32, she's 30. We're both in our professional lives, in our careers, like we are in the midst of our like building part of our lives. And it's something that I've kind of been tapping into the last couple of years, a little bit harder and harder, I think, as each year progresses. But it's something that has been driving me more and more. I tell folks when they ask, like, oh, you feel like you got to be missing out. You don't have kids. You don't have this. I'm like, yeah, I do. I got a company. Like, all these people here are my responsibility. I have to make sure they eat. I have to make sure they're clothed. I have to make sure they're sheltered. I have to make sure that everything that happens at Proline is going to take care of them. So yes, I have kids. Am I not, hopefully I'm not wiping butts and, feeding bottles and stuff to these guys. But nonetheless, I have people I'm responsible for. And for those who don't own a company, who aren't in a massive leadership role, just like I've never had to raise a child from diapers, you've never had the responsibility of making sure that payroll is made every week. You've never had the responsibility to make sure that there's growth opportunity for these individuals. You've never had the responsibility to make sure that you don't screw up this path that you're taking everybody down with you, and they're putting their full trust and hope into you. So do me a favor, and the rest of us a favor, that says, when people want to come out and say, hey, you don't know, what you're missing out on. Well, you also don't know the other side of it. You haven't walked down those people's shoes. Because I can tell you right now, the fact that I don't have kids, I don't have my own offspring in my house that I'm raising and things like that. I can tell you right now that I have a mission, that I have a purpose, that I have a passion that I'm pushing through in my life every day to make sure that we are providing an opportunity, a platform, a path for individuals, grown individuals, to build the lives they dream of. That's my mission. That's Daniel Wright's mission. And you know what? It's not far off from those of a parent that wants to build a path for their child to grow, for their child to exceed, to be a contributing member of society, right? At least I hope that's what you want for your kids. I mean, I would if I was you. I want that for you. So just because I don't have them in my house doesn't mean that I'm not having a really, really strong mission that drives me every day. And the reason I'm talking about this, guys, is I think a lot of this stuff goes undiscussed because it's like a taboo topic. People don't know how to address it, right? I mean, like I said, being in our 30s, we meet new people, friends, coworkers, peers, whatever it may be. One of the first questions, aside from what do you do for a living, is, oh, do you have kids? All right. And we always tell them, nope, got 4 dogs. That's where we're at. But at the end of the day, like, that's okay. It is. Because I can promise you that if I keep channeling into the fact that, okay, I don't have kids in my house that I'm raising, my mission is now shifted into building this business to be the largest, most successful platform that I can possibly make it, so that potentially thousands of other individuals can be positively impacted by what we're doing at our company, and that's my mission, my legacy will have no choice but to be amazing, right? Because regardless, whenever that day comes that my time here is over, regardless of what happens to the company, if it gets sold, if it gets acquired, if it lives on and gets sold to the employees as, an employee buyout sort of a thing. So all the people who've helped us build it have equity and can retire off of it, so on and so forth. Whatever happens to it, people are always going to remember that whoever was in charge of this company put every freaking thing they had into it to give them the opportunity to build the life that they got to live. That's cool as shit. All right. So, like I said, my point in this is because some people have to realize that we were put on this earth for different missions, right? I have no doubt that if all of a sudden Kelsey comes to me tomorrow and says she's pregnant and we're going to have a kid, I have no doubt I'm going to be the best freaking dad you've ever seen in your life, right? And I say that with confidence, with conviction, because I know it's true. I know that I will put in to making myself be the best parent that I possibly can. But in the meantime, you can bet your ass that I am being the best business owner that I can possibly be, the best leader, the best role model, the best person setting the most examples that I possibly can to help other people build the life they dream of. That's some cool shit. That's a mission to be proud of. And I stand behind it wholeheartedly. So I can tell you guys right now, the things that are coming down the pipeline for myself personally, for Kelsey and I as a couple, for this as a business, the opportunities and the things that are coming down the pipeline are going to be absolutely mind-blowing. We've kind of always been the, I guess in a way, kind of fly under the radar sort of mentality that, we'll just do our thing over here. We won't ruffle the feathers. We won't do this. We'll just, build this little successful thing and everybody here will be happy. Well, I can tell you right now, as I'm tapping more into the mission and I'm tapping more into the importance of that whenever I'm dead and gone, if there's not a person to carry on my name, by God, there's going to be thousands of people that carry on my story. And that's going to be cool. That's going to be exciting. So I encourage you guys, with whatever it is that your mission is in your life, if you're a parent, I would highly encourage you for raising your kids to be the best members of society that they can be a very high priority mission for you. If you're a business owner, you should definitely consider how important the mission of building that business is, because it doesn't just affect you. Whether you have just yourself, you're a self-employed entrepreneur, solopreneur, things like that, you're still affecting and impacting all the people that you interact with. You are someone's dream. You are living something that someone else is dreaming about, and that's not to be taken lightly. All right? So whether you're leading 1 or 1,000, there are people that look up to you, there's people that count on you, and there's people that are watching every move you make. You better make sure that those moves are worth watching, because one day somebody's going to tell your story. And if you're not living a life that's going to be creating a story that you want to be told when you're dead and gone, then you've got some work to do. So do I. All right. So that's my message for you guys today. Like I said, I know it's a little bit more personal, a little bit more heated. As the disclaimer, no, I have not had anybody come at me and tell me I should do this or should do that. It was a topic, like I said, that I heard about recently. And I was like, you know what? I relate to this. I feel like this needs to be put out on a platform. And what better platform to use than Paving the Way? So, guys, I thank you for tuning in today. Like I said, we got some cool shit coming down the pipe that you're definitely going to want to stay tuned for. It'll be life-changing for a lot of people. So I appreciate you guys. I look forward to continuing to show up for you guys 2 times a week, Wednesdays and Saturdays, 7 a.m. And if that schedule changes, I'm sure to let you know. So appreciate y'all. Take care. Let me know if you need